Okay, let's unpack this. We're about to start a pretty intense deep dive today. It's a story that honestly feels like something from a spy novel, but it's very real. And it has huge implications. Think international mystery, complex legal fights, really profound human rights questions, all tangled together. So our mission really is to try and cut through some of the noise surrounding one incredibly controversial person, Aafia Siddiqui.
It's a case that really highlights the friction points,
Yeah.
when justice systems and international politics collide. When we talk about Aafia Siddiqui, we're talking about a Pakistani neuroscientist. And her academic background is frankly stunning.
Yeah.
Degrees from MIT, a PhD from Brandeis, really top-tier stuff. And early on, she wasn't just known for being brilliant academically. She was also involved in Islamic activism during her time studying in the U.S.
Right, so this incredibly accomplished profile, looked like a very bright future. And then 2003 happens. Her story just takes this sharp, dramatic turn. She goes back to Pakistan with her kids, and then she just vanishes, like completely off the map,
Yeah.
under really mysterious circumstances. And for 5 years, nobody knew where she was. This obviously led to a lot of speculation. Was she secretly picked up, held by intelligence agencies, that kind of thing?
Exactly, and that's precisely where the counter-narrative from the U.S. side starts to form. While her family's saying abduction, U.S. intelligence sources began alleging she was involved in, well, terrorist activities. They claimed connections to al-Qaeda, said she was maybe facilitating funds, equipment, for terrorism. But it's really important to remember these claims were largely based on intelligence reports
Mm.
and testimony from other detainees,
Right.
which, especially from that period, there are always questions about how reliable that information is, how it was obtained. It adds this whole other layer of ambiguity.
So much ambiguity. Okay, so after 5 years basically incommunicado, the story gets even stranger in 2008. Aafia Siddiqui suddenly reappears. She's reportedly arrested in Ghazni, Afghanistan. And the things they reportedly found with her were pretty alarming. Documents talking about chemical weapons and also notes on New York City landmarks.
Yeah, that detail alone just instantly raised the stakes globally, made it a huge international incident. And it's fascinating, or maybe disturbing, how quickly the stories diverge right at this point. Even about her actual reappearance and arrest. The U.S. account is that during her interrogation there in Afghanistan, she allegedly grabbed a U.S. soldier's M4 rifle
Right, I remember this part.
and tried to shoot American personnel. Now, according to the report, no one was actually hit, but she herself was shot in the process and then taken into custody. And pretty soon after that, she was extradited to the United States.
So the whole scene shifts again. Now we're in a U.S. courtroom. 2010, she's on trial. But here's a really crucial point, something that often gets lost. She was not charged with terrorism. The specific charges were attempted murder and assault related to that alleged incident in the interrogation room.
Exactly. That's a critical distinction.
Despite, very conflicting accounts during the trial, questions about the evidence, she was convicted, and she received this incredibly long sentence, 86 years in prison.
And that conviction, that sentence, brings us right to the core of why this case is still so incredibly controversial. You have one side, her family, her supporters, who are adamant. They say she was abducted way back in 2003, held secretly, possibly in a CIA black site, tortured for years before she even showed up in Afghanistan in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
They see the U.S. trial as fundamentally unfair, politically motivated, essentially a show trial. It just starkly shows how that fog of war, combined with secret intelligence operations, can create these huge information vacuums. And that leaves room for completely different but equally deeply believed narratives about what actually happened, about guilt and innocence.
And meanwhile, halfway across the world in Pakistan, her story just exploded. She's become, almost a national symbol for many people there. They see her as an innocent victim caught up in the whole war on terror apparatus.
Absolutely.
This has led to massive protests over the years, and it puts enormous pressure on every Pakistani government that's come along, pressure to intervene, to get her released.
Yeah, it's a prime example of how one individual's case can become this lightning rod for national feeling and a real source of ongoing diplomatic friction between nations. And it's not just in Pakistan. Even here in the U.S., civil rights groups have raised serious questions. Concerns about her treatment while in custody, her mental health state, which has reportedly deteriorated, and also the broader implications. What does this case mean for international justice standards, for human rights protections in these kinds of situations?
It's just layers upon layers. So with all that history, where are things right now? We're talking July 2025. Okay, so she's still imprisoned. serving that 86-year sentence at the Federal Medical Center, FMC Fort Worth in Texas. Her legal team hasn't given up. They're still active, filing lawsuits about denial of religious access, apparently. She's been denied visits from her imam.
Right.
And they've also brought forward allegations of physical and sexual abuse within the prison, denial of proper mental health care, too. They're basically arguing there's systemic discrimination happening within the U.S. prison system affecting her.
Yes, the legal battles continue on those fronts. And then there are their efforts purely focused on getting her released. Her lawyers have formally petitioned President Biden for clemency, asking for a commutation of her sentence. And alongside that, there's this huge public campaign, a petition backed by a very prominent cleric, Mufti Taqi Usmani, and led by her sister, Fawzia Siddiqui, who's gathered, I think, over 1 million signatures now, calling for mercy, basically, on humanitarian grounds.
Wow, over 1 million. And the Pakistani government is deeply involved, too, it seems. Fawzia Siddiqui, her sister, has taken legal action in Pakistan itself, filing petitions in the Islamabad High Court. She's trying to compel the government to do more, legally and diplomatically. And the High Court there has taken a surprisingly strong line. They've actually demanded explanations from the federal cabinet.
Yes, they have.
Like, why haven't you properly supported Dr. Siddiqui's legal fight in the U.S. courts? They even issued contempt notices just this month, July 2025, to the Prime Minister, Shahbaz Sharif, and other ministers for not providing documents the court asked for. That's quite something.
It really is. It shows a level of domestic judicial pressure. Now, the Pakistani government, for its part, keeps making public statements, pledging assistance. They've formed a special committee, legal, diplomatic liaising with the family. But it's really crucial to note this. Islamabad has officially shot down the idea of a prisoner swap involving Dr. Shakil Afridi.
Ah, the doctor who helped the CIA find bin Laden.
That's the one.
Yeah.
They say there's absolutely no formal agreement with the U.S. for any kind of swap like that. And adding to the frustration, reports suggest that official diplomatic letters, legal filings from Pakistan to U.S. authorities, they've just gone unanswered, unacknowledged.
So a diplomatic wall, essentially.
Seems like a persistent impasse.
Okay, so summing up where we are in July 2025, Prime Minister Sharif met with Dr. Fawzia Siddiqui recently, reiterated commitment, we're working on it. But the main avenues with presidential clemency from Biden, some kind of lawful prisoner exchange, or getting relief through the U.S. courts, none of those seem to have worked so far.
Correct. No breakthrough.
The Islamabad High Court has given Fawzia Siddiqui's lawyers permission to broaden their petitions, try new angles. So the hearings there are ongoing. But you can feel the frustration building, right? Yeah. Lots of activity, lots of pressure, but no actual progress on getting her released.
That's the crux of it right now. The case is still a major focus of activism in Pakistan, still under intense government scrutiny there. But at the end of the day, Aafia Siddiqui is still behind bars in Texas. And there's no clear path to release visible at this moment. It's just stuck in this web of unresolved legal issues, diplomatic standoffs, and deeply conflicting narratives.
Yeah, this whole deep dive really just underscores how incredibly complex this case is. It's not just one thing. It touches on national security concerns, fundamental human rights, the intricacies of international law, delicate diplomacy between countries.
Everything.
We've heard these starkly different stories about the same person, the same events, and there's just no single easy answer everyone agrees on.
No, not at all.
It really makes you think, doesn't it, about how these situations even happen. What does a case like Aafia Siddiqui's really tell us about the immense challenges of trying to find justice when it crosses borders, especially when you have secret intelligence, powerful public emotions, and intense diplomatic pressure all crashing together?